I just can't imagine what that's like going through that death experience, that near death experience, hanging upside down for 8 hours. Um, so, what were some of the things when you were upside down? I mean, did you think that you were going to die? I mean, that this was it. This was the end, and you were
But
gonna.
I mean, there's no doubt, right? I mean, first of all, I should have died. I'm talking about the kids by me. I think I described the graphic way that he died. I was right by him. So like you have a four-story floor concrete, completely concrete cinder block and concrete building that's fell on you. And I was at the second floor at that time. So I was buried inside that building. And I come out with legs, with femurs, with legs injuries. Both of my femur are broken. You think about it. What about my head? What about my chest? And all that. This scratch in my head and a scratch in my chest. Those heavy concrete should have just who knows
Crushed
what
you.
to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
crushed me. But I mean, I think that was a sign for God to clearly show me that I spared you. You know, you were crushed by that building and died, and I resurrected you, and your body is spotless beside my leg. You think about this, beside my leg. And then I found myself on the other side of the building, another sign for God to show me. You were buried there, and I show you on the other side, and I don't know how, but I was hanging upside down. So everybody thought I was still gonna die because I'm losing blood. My leg, at this point, you can see the marrow inside my bones. My leg was crushed. But the scariest part was the building was over a hill, and there was countless aftershock for those 8 hours. A lot of aftershock. The building was shaking and shaking. So at any point, the building could have fell on me and buried me. And the other hard part was they couldn't get my leg out because my leg was sandwiched by those heavy concrete. And they realized if they try to pull the concrete up to slide me out, the building will slide down and bury everybody and kill everybody. So at the end, I remember this guy, he said, Ralph, I'm a construction guy, but I'm a dad. There is no way I could do this. I said, what is it? So the only way to get you out is to literally use like a stretch hammer and to kind of literally carve your flesh out and carve the concrete out. And I mean, I said, do it. So they did it. And God granted me, strength and to bear the pain. And that's how they get me out. And still after they get me out, for the first week at least, everybody thought I was gonna die. There was a nurse at the hospital. She said after that, she said to me, every morning when I come to the hospital and I saw you alive, I just go outside and cry and cry and cry and weep because I know you're gonna die at any point. I go home knowing that the next morning I'm gonna come and see you dead because I have all these injuries in my leg and there was no medical care for first of all, when they get me out of the building, that was one step, but there was no medical care available in Haiti. I mean, there was barely any hospital in Haiti before that, but at that point, most hospitals went down, doctors died. So 8 hours later, when I get out, you think about like nearly 3% of the Haitian population died. That's 300,000 people now. Just to give you a good idea of it, 3% of the US population is 10 million people. Now, with all the infrastructure you have already, think about 10 million people die in this country in a split of a second. I mean, just in a few hours. It's chaos. And although you have a lot, but in Haiti, at that point, we barely had only one dysfunctional fire station. Just to tell you about the infrastructure, there was only one fire station in Haiti, and it was barely working. So there was nothing. And they had to push me on a stretch in a wheelbarrow, from hospital to hospital. There was nothing. I remember at some point they had to push me over dead people laying all over the street. The pain was unbearable. I'm having two broken femur and a crushed leg, a crushed left leg, a wounded right leg, both femur broken, and still no pain medicine. And it's 24 hours later we get to our first hospital. 24 hours later, no pain medicine, nothing. I'm being pushed in a wheelbarrow and then being thrown in a pickup truck at some point. Fortunately, sounds fortunate because there was no transportation, there was no phone communication. And then the first hospital I really get to, they said, there was some Cuban hospital. I mean, if there is one thing about Cuba, good thing about Cuba, it's, medicine. Some good doctors, they were there and they opened the card. My leg was in a cardboard as a cast and they opened it and they said, there's nothing we can do for you. So send me to
Wow.
the hospital. So we're talking about, now 2 days later and I still haven't have any cleaning, any pain medicine, nothing. So I finally had my first surgery 1 week later. It's like 1 week before some American doctor were able to reach that town and came to the hospital. And that's when I started seeing value of helping people. You see, seeing those medical doctors from America leaving their family and everything and come in the middle of this chaotic time in Haiti, some of them sleeping outside there because there's just nothing, eating bars, and they came and they helped. And at that point, I was decomposing alive. And again, it was clear that, if I didn't believe I died in that building, I think God was making clear to me that, medically, there was no explanation how I survived. And even before my surgery, the doctor said, oh, we just found out that you have half of the amount of blood you're supposed to have in your body. So we need to get blood before we can do your surgery. And there was no blood at the hospital. Since I was kind of famous, they literally had to go to the radio and set up, because my blood type was very rare, or my O negative. So they had to set up literally a blood bank outside and putting the news on the radio, and people from all over coming down to give blood so they can finally get because there was 8 days later, you have such chaos in Haiti, like over 10% of the population being injured and 3% died. So everybody's giving blood. So 8 days, there was barely any blood now, O negative. It was just impossible to find the blood. They literally had to go on the radio and people come and collect the blood. So
wow, that's again, that's just crazy, amazing story. But God just kind of brought you through it. Obviously, He has a blessing and a purpose for your life, and I want you to kind of backtrack a little bit, because most entrepreneurs and business owners and Americans, we're all kind of going after something. We're chasing something, and most of the time, entrepreneurs, business owners, or people, they're chasing popularity or fame, right? That's a big one. Power is a big one, and money is definitely a big one in my circles. So, and you had a lot of that, right? You had fame, you had some power, and you had money. So, what did those three things mean to you during this time?
Yeah, at this point, they were worthless. They were worthless. Again, I'm not saying I'm going to a top 20 business school. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be an investment banker, in a couple of months. So I'm not saying money is bad. I mean, that's enough for people to realize I'm not, a crazy guy who think. But all this was worthless. It was useless and worthless. I mean, when I was dying in this building, I realized nothing. Look, even if I had, no matter how much, like there were people who were running for president, some of the top businessmen in Haiti, they went missing. When someone went missing, that means, like, when I was pushed over dead people laying all over the street, maybe it was one of them. So you can be whoever you are, but all that we have is breath, right? We all have one thing in common. You can be poor, you can be rich, you can be smart, you can be whatever the world describe you as. You can be black, white, green, blue, Chinese, whatever. We all gonna die. And that's what we all have in common. And no matter how big your health insurance is, no matter how big your security detail is, no matter how good your healthcare is, we don't know when we're gonna die. We just don't know. We have no clue. So that's the bottom line of life. So we are not as powerful as we think we are, and we are not as in control as we think we are. And our success doesn't provide us the security we think it does, because I was literally the most successful teenager in Haiti. I own a national magazine. Within 4 years, I grew a national magazine. I own a newspaper. I was meeting with senators. All the top superstars in Haiti know me. The most prestigious event in Haiti, they will have a VIP card for me for the most prestigious concert. All people in the industry, they know me and they respect me. And I was just a kid finishing up high school. But I was 20 years old. I was young. If you think you're too young to die, I was young, 20 years old. And then actually, I was in that building overlooking the wealthiest neighborhood in Haiti, and asking my uncle questions about purchasing a piece of land there. And then the building fell. And then I died in a split of a second. And then I couldn't prevent myself from dying. I couldn't do anything about it. And then that's when I remember my mom used to talk to me about Jesus. And the good thing is I always respected God. I think it was the crazy part. That's why I sympathize so much with Americans, is to see it's not it's how wealth and the things of this life and the worry of this life can fool us into believing lies. Because then I realized, what? Jesus, 2,000 years ago, there was a thief at the cross, and there you save him last minute. So what about you to do the same thing for me? Because I realize that all that matter now, at least I'll be with you instead of being, destroyed forever. So that's really what was there for me.
Wow.
And God was there with me. Even I turned my back on him, and he's here with me, and will be still with me tomorrow. And I always said to God, and fast forward, really, I realized losing my leg is the best thing that happened to me. Because at the end, I lost my leg in the process. At the time I went to the surgery room, they had to chop off my leg off. And now I have one leg. And when you are one leg in Haiti, when you are disabled in Haiti, you are considered, ugly, worthless, and all sort of bad things in Haiti. So I wanted to die, but instead of being that kind of person, but God had other plan for me. And now I can tell you, I would prefer lose my other leg, lose my arms, and lose all that I have, but have the life that God gave me after the earthquake, where I'm trying my best to live a life to serve people. Even you're not a Christian, I bring glory to God, but even you're not a Christian, right? Let's say you don't believe in God. I've had a lot of rich friends, and I'm going to a top business school. There are some kids at the school who are billionaires. I get to talk to them, and we go have drinks. Life is hard, and life is empty if you don't have a purpose. And the more purposeful things, based on my conversation with different successful people, is what are you doing for humanity? What are you doing for your fellow human being? How are you bettering life on earth? And in my experience, the best way I could do that is by having the boss, is by having Jesus directing me on the best move. Because I've been helping people full time in the last 4 years. And I've been helping people in the last 10 years. I was in school going to Haiti 5 times a year, taking all sorts of people to Haiti to help people. That's what I do. And one of my motto to keep helping people is I give without looking back. Because people can be grateful. People are funny. People can be ungrateful too. 99 people will be grateful to you, and 1 will be ungrateful, and Satan will lie to you and tell you people are ungrateful. So it's difficult to help. But when you know you are doing this because that's your calling, that's your purpose in life, and you know that when you compare yourself to God have no reason to love you, God have no reason to help you, then, like it's so much, if you could judge a fellow human being on how bad they are not to help them, then how much God will be able to. So those measures, those Christian principles make it so much easier for me to help people despite.
No, I love that. And you're definitely dropping so much wisdom and nuggets here. And I love what you said about you give without looking back. And I think a lot of times we give, but we're always expecting to receive something, right? And that's just human nature, I think. Without God, we give, but we want to receive as well. So to give without looking back, God calls us to give cheerfully. Thank you so much for checking out the Brett Snodgrass channel. If you like this video, please slam on that like button. And if you really like it, then subscribe to our channel here. And remember to leave us a comment below, and I'm going to try my hardest to reply to all the comments. Thank you guys so much. This is why I do what I do. Every single week, I come out with content that focuses on success, freedom, and living out your purpose. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.